Okay, so I'm going to cover in detail the exam one for fall of 2025. I am going to break this down. So if you don't know a thing about what I'm doing, hopefully what I say will make sense to you. So if you approached a problem, you're like, I didn't even know where to begin. Hopefully I can give you some clarity on this. All right, the first one, most of you did fantastic on, name the coordinates of a points graph. So for A, it's down here. So remember, it's always written as an ordered pair with values of X and Y. X for A is over 1. And for the Y value, it is down to -3. For B, up here, so again, we went over 1. And we are going up 3. So it's positive. C is down here. So you go to the left, -4. And you're going down to -5. And then lastly is D. You're just going over to -4. And it's neither going up nor down. Y'all did really well on that. Here's where the struggle is starting. Okay. Throughout the rest of the semester, you're going to need to know, and if you're moving on, that to find the x-intercept, you have to let y equal 0 and solve for x. Okay, so I'm going to start off with y equaling 0. So I'm just not even going to put this value in here because 3/4 times 0 is 0. And I'm just going to bring the 3 down. Okay. Now, for those of you who struggle with fractions, which is the majority of you, get rid of them. Get rid of the fractions. Look at what your denominator is. It's 3. It's the only one that's there. So let's make this simple. I'm going to multiply each and every term by 3 so that I can get rid of this fraction. So 3 times 2x minus 3 times 2/3 equals 3 times 3. All right, 3 times 2x is 6x. The 3's reduce, and you're left with -2, or -6/3, which is -2. And that's equal to 3 times 3, which is 9. Finally, we solve for x. I'm going to add 2. What's the first thing I do? Who's attached to x and how? 6 is attached to x by multiplication. 2 is attached by subtraction. We have to get rid of the 2 first. So we have to add 2 to both sides of this equal sign. You can't do one thing to one side and not the other. So this becomes 6x is equal to 11. All right. And then lastly, 6 is attached to x by multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I must divide both sides by 6. And x is equal to 11/6. Now, I asked you, you always have to follow directions, to answer in ordered pairs. All right, and because of that, you should have written this as 11/6, 0. That's it. That's the x-intercept. Now we need to find the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, you let x equal 0 and solve for y. All right, so 2 times 0 is 0, so I'm not even going to write the x version. So -2/3 is equal to 3/4 y plus 3. Again, with the fractions, what would be your common denominator? 3 times 4 is 12, and that's the only thing that you need to worry about at that point. So 12 times each and every term. 12 times each and every term. Now, the reason we do that is when you come out of this part, you will have no fractions. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then 12 times 3 is 36. Now we have no fractions. 4 times -2 is -8. 3 times 3 is 9. Y plus 36. Now we're going to solve for y. I'm going to move the 36 first. So subtract 36 from both sides. Okay, here was a struggle. When the signs are the same, We're not multiplying, we're adding them and keeping the common sign. So keeping the common sign, 8 plus 6 is 14, so this is 44. And then the last step is to solve for y. 9 is attached to y by multiplication. The inverse or opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 9. And so y equals negative 44 over 9. Now, again, ordered pairs. The y-intercept would be 0 for x and negative 44 over 9 for y. Find the distance between the 2 points. If you didn't have the distance formula, I would have given it to you. You just need to talk to me. I don't want you to fail something because you don't have the distance formula. So x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. You won't see this again until the final. All right. But here's an issue that I saw for a good number of folks is you didn't label them correctly. Each of these ordered pairs is made up of an x and a y. Okay. This x, y, I'm just labeling it as 0.1. So x sub 1, y sub 1. The next one, I'm going to call it 0.2. So x sub 2, y sub 2. This threw a lot of folks off, which scares the bejesus out of me. So the next part is just plug and chug. It's just substitution, but you have to follow what's given here. So x sub 2 is 10 minus x sub 1 is negative 4 squared plus y sub 2 is 3 minus y sub 1 is 3 squared. And here's where I saw crazy stuff. You do order of operations, PEMDAS. 10 minus negative 4, this becomes a negative times a negative, which is a positive. So 10 plus 4 is 14. 3 minus 3 is 0. The 0 I don't even care about anymore. So now I have the square root of 14 squared. Well, the square root, if you square 14, you get 196, and then take the square root of it, you get 14. So the distance is 14. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of the line segments. Again, if you don't have a formula, just talk to me. So the midpoint is just the average of the x values, comma, the average of the y values. And it's in ordered pair format. So m equals, and I have to label these, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. This is not x1, x2. I saw that a lot. Be careful, be careful. So my ordered pairs, I didn't need to do that. So x sub 1 is negative 43 plus x sub 2, which is 23. Y sub 1 is 17 plus negative 34. Okay, this will become a negative between the two. So this is equal to negative 43 plus 23 is negative 20 over 2, comma, 17 minus 34. When the signs are different, you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. And then for the final answer, please reduce. Negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. And then negative 17 halves. Many of you answered with mixed numbers. I didn't understand that, but that's it. Next one, find the complex conjugate. Find the complex conjugate. And that just changes the sign of the imaginary number. So negative 2 plus 3i. That's all I was looking for. Graph the complex number. Now, when you graphed it, some of you did exactly as you were supposed to. Others wrote negative 2, negative 3 as the ordered pair, but it's not. You have to answer it a certain way. So negative 2, 1, 2, and then negative 3, 1, 2, 3. Complex number is only a point. It's not a line or anything else. So that is my complex number of -2 minus 3i. Now I'm going to do my other complex number, the conjugate, and it's -2 and then up 3. Place a dot. You're not connecting these. You're just drawing them. And then label -2 plus 3i, because I did ask you to label them, to graph them and label. And that was it for that. Simplify. Lord have mercy. And I warned y'all about this, but many still did it. Scared. I'm worried. This is just subtracting these two binomials. That's it. So I'm just going to rewrite the first one. I saw a lot of multiplication here. You distribute this negative to both terms. So negative times a negative is a positive 6. Negative times a positive is a negative 9i. Now you combine like terms. The -4 plus 6 is 2. 4i minus 9i is -5i. It's an a plus bi format. I am done. The next one, you have to find the complex conjugate of the denominator in order to rationalize the denominator to where we have no imaginary numbers in the denominator, because we can't have that mathematically. So the complex conjugate of 4 plus, I'm going to come over here, 4 plus 3i, the complex conjugate is 4 minus 3i. So I have to multiply by 4 minus 3i over 4 minus 3i. And you're going to have to distribute, FOIL, box method, pick your poison for the numerator and the denominator, and then simplify. All right, for the numerator, I have -8 plus 6i plus 12i minus 9i squared over 4 times 4 is 16 plus 3i, plus 12i minus 12i, and then minus 9i squared. I'm going to simplify. -8 plus 18i. Now, where the I squared is the same thing as -1. So a -9 times -1 is +9 over 12i and 12i are gone because they're subtracting. And again, I squared is -1. So this is 16 plus, because negative times a negative, 9. Finally, in the numerator, -8 plus 9 is 1 plus 18i over 25. This is not a plus bi format, so you do have to separate them into 1 over 25 plus 18 over 25i, or 18i over 25. It's the same thing. Lastly, 837, I to the 837, you take 837, divide that by 4 because I to the 4th is 1. All right. And when I do that, I get 209. Then with my calculator, I go 200 right here. I go 209 times 4, just these two multiplied, and I get 836. You have to subtract them, and I get a 1. Well, that means the answer is I to the 1, which is I. So the answer is not that. The answer is to simplify I to the 837, and that's just equal to I. Solve using the square root property. You have to follow directions. You have to solve in this manner. That's why I'm having you follow the directions, is to see that you can do this, not to do your own thing. Okay, it's to solve in a specific manner. So the square root property, I'm going to rewrite this real quick. 2x plus 1 squared is equal to 9. The square root property means when you have the squared on one side, the constant on the other, then you take the square root of both sides. But remember, the right side where the constant is needs to be a plus or minus in front of it. So the square root and the square cancel out. You're left with 2x plus 1 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 9 is 3. It's at this point you separate them into 2x plus 1 is equal to 3, and 2x plus 1 is equal to -3. Sorry about the snoring dog at my feet. Now, I'm going to solve each of these for x. subtract 1 from both sides. I get 2x is equal to 2. Divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to 1. Subtract 1 from both sides. 2x is equal to negative 4. Divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to negative 2. And those are my answers. X is equal to 1, and x is equal to negative 2. All right? Solve by completing the square. Many of you started off really great with this and setting it up properly. Moving the 27 to the other side, giving your spaces in here, taking the 6, the negative 6, dividing it by 2 and squaring it, adding 9 to both sides. Okay, but here's where it got crazy. You added these two, moved them back over, and you had the same exact thing you started with, and you factored it like I didn't give you the directions to complete the square. To complete the square, this is where you do this. You have to create a binomial squared on the left side. So where it's the square root of the first, the sign of the middle, and the square root of the last, equal to 27 plus 9, which is 36. Now, you have to use the square root property to get rid of the square. But remember, on the right side, we have to go plus or minus the square root of 36, because that's our constant. The square root and the square cancel out. We're left with x minus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 36, which is 6. Here again, we separate this into x minus 3 is equal to 6, and x minus 3 is equal to negative 6. Solving for x, I add 3 to both sides. 6 plus 3 is 9, so x is equal to 9. Add 3 to both sides of the equal sign, and x is equal to negative 3. When the signs are different, you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. And these are my answers for completing the square for number 9. All right, solve by using the quadratic formula. Again, there were many of you who didn't have this. I would have given it to you. All of this is over 2a. So one of the things I saw by multiple of you is you didn't carry this fraction all the way over. And some of you had the 2a up underneath the radical. This line, this fraction goes all the way across. That 2a is underneath all of this, okay? So the first thing we need to know is who a, b, and c are. A is 2. B is the coefficients of the numbers. B is 3. And c is negative 7. I should have m equals on this. So negative b, so negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2 times a. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 7 is positive 56. All of that over. 2 times 2 is 4. Last up, I just need to simplify what's underneath that radical because it will not be able to be factored out. And that is my answer. Those are my two answers. Solve algebraically. Didn't care how you solved it. The first thing I do when I see something like this is they all have a 3 and an m in common. So I factor out 3m, and I'm left with m squared minus 12m plus, I think it's 27. Let me double check here. Try not to use my calculator too much. Plus 27 is equal to 0. Now, I've got 3m. Do not get rid of that guy. It's got an m with it, so it has to carry down. If it was just a 3, you could divide both sides by 3 and get rid of it. But because it's an m, it's going to give us one of our answers for m. And then we just need to factor. Looks like a 9 and a 3. Signs only in the middle negative, so they're both negative. Okay. I'm factored as low as I can go. So now I need to set each of these terms equal to 0. 3m equal to 0, m minus 9 equal to 0, and m minus 3 equal to 0. To solve for m, I divide both sides by 3, and m is equal to 0. There's one of my answers. Add 9 to both sides. M is equal to 9. There's another answer. and then add 3 to both sides. M is equal to 3. Please don't skip steps. That's where you really mess up. All right, the next one. Many of you went ahead and multiplied negative 3t minus 1 times negative 3t minus 1 and then distributed your 3's. And I didn't expect all that. That's a lot of work. Instead, I'm going to let x equal negative 3t minus 1. And I end up with x squared minus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. I just need to factor this. X and x, 2 and 1. And they're both negative. Check your OI, make sure it works. So outer is negative 1x, inner is negative 2x. They add together to give me negative 3x. We are golden. I set each of these binomials equal to 0. And I know in class we went ahead and solved for x. So add 2 to both sides. Add 1 to both sides. And then the last part is bring that negative 3t back down here, minus 1 down here, and substitute. Negative 3t minus 1 is equal to 2. Negative 3t minus 1 is equal to 1. And solve for t since that's what we're needing to do. Add 1 to both sides. Divide both sides by negative 3. I'm out of space. And t is equal to negative 1. Add 1 to both sides. Negative 3t is equal to 2. Divide both sides by negative 3. And t is equal to negative 2/3. So your answers are t is equal to negative 1 and negative 2/3. M to the fourth minus 25m squared minus 144 is equal to 0. So I can go ahead and factor. We've got m squared, m squared. Oh, nope, I removed this one. So sorry, y'all. Removed. This needed to be plus. I forgot. All right, next one. This one threw a lot of people for the loop. You have to have the absolute value by itself on one side and then your constant on the other. The first thing I'm going to tell you is you cannot go negative 2 plus 5. You cannot do that. That 5 is attached to that parenthesis by multiplication. And you can't just multiply that 5 into that absolute value because it's an absolute value. You have to deal with what's happening inside there first. So what we need to do is start getting rid of these things on the outside. I'm going to add 2 to move it over to the other side. Let's just get rid of it. 5 is attached by multiplication, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Gone. And I still have my absolute value of 3x plus 8 is equal to 6. To get rid of the absolute value, you have to separate into 3x plus 8 is equal to 6, exactly as it's written without the absolute values. And then 3x plus 8 is equal to negative 6. And then solve for x for both. Subtract 8 from both sides. So 3x is equal to negative 2. The signs are different. You subtract and take the sign of the larger number, and then divide both sides by 3. And x is equal to negative 2/3. There's one of my x's. Subtract 8 from both sides. 3x is equal to negative 14. Divide both sides by 3 because 3 is attached to x by multiplication. And x is equal to negative 14/3. Lastly, the square root of, sorry, not lastly, next, the square root of x plus 44 is equal to x plus 2. So you knew to get rid of the square root, you had to square. But then, and I told y'all in class not to do this, not to just square these individually. This must be squared as a binomial. It has to be. So then I end up with x plus 44 is equal to, and you can treat this like x plus 2 times x plus 2, distribute, FOIL, box method, pick your poison and distribute it. All right. And so the part that I got for the right is x squared after I combine like terms plus 4x plus 4. And now I just need to set it all equal to 0 and solve for x. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I'm going to subtract 44 from both sides. The reason I'm bringing everything over to the right is because my x squared is positive and I want to keep it as a positive. 4 minus 1 is 3x. Positive 4 minus 44 is negative 40. The signs are different. You subtract, take the sign as a larger number. And now we're going to factor the trinomial, x and x. And it looks like 8 and 5 will give me 3. And then the middle term needs to be positive, but I need to subtract them. Now I just set each of these binomials equal to 0. Excuse me. And solve for x. Subtract 8 from both sides. X is equal to negative 8. I better not put a line around it yet. And add 5 to both sides. X is equal to 5. I need to check both of these because it is a square root. Just putting my negative up here, negative 8 plus 2 is going to give me a negative, right? So if I've got square root of negative 8 plus 44 is equal to negative 8 plus 2. Negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. A square root cannot equal negative 6, so that's not an answer. 5. Square root of 5 plus 44 is equal to 5 plus 2, that's 7. 5 plus 44 is 49, so that's 7 as well. So that works. This is my answer. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Last one on this page, square root of m minus 9 minus 2 is equal to 1. Please don't extend a line that I don't have over that minus 2. I did this for a reason, for you to show me that you knew that we want to isolate the absolute value by itself on one side. Sorry. We want to isolate the square root by itself on one side, just like we did the absolute value, and then our constant on the other side. So I needed to add 2 to both sides to even begin this. 1 plus 2 is 3. Now we can square the square root. And what you do to one side, you must do to the other. 3 squared is not 3 times 2. It's 3 times 3, which is 9. And then lastly, solving for m, you just need to add 9 to both sides. And m is equal to 18. All right, next one, solve, answer in interval notation. And I looked for that. So when you have an absolute value greater than, that's all I need to say. When you have an absolute value greater than, you're going to set it up the same way every time. You're going to set it up with 2x minus 1 greater than or equal to 2, just as it is. And for some reason, people are changing the sign in here. I've never shown you that. I don't know where that came from. Please don't ever do that again. Just rewrite the 2x minus 1, flip your inequality, and change the sign of your constant. That is how you do the second piece to this. Solving for x for both. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. 2x is greater than or equal to 3. Divide both sides by 2, and x is greater than or equal to 3 halves. Okay. Add 1 to both sides. 2x is less than or equal to negative 1. Divide both sides by 2, and x is less than or equal to negative 1 half. I'm going to do a number line real quick, just so I can show you what's going on. Negative is always to the left. Positive is always to the right. We've got 0 in there somewhere. When x is greater than or equal to, it means it gets a dot. And it's greater than, so it's going in this direction. X is less than or equal to, so it too gets a dot. And it is going in this direction because it's less than. So to write your interval notation, it's always from left to right. The furthest number to the left is negative infinity. And then it stops at negative 1 half. And it is included, so it gets a bracket. Union, bracket, because 3 halves is included. And it's taking off towards positive infinity. And there's your interval notation. Next one. Solve and write your answer as an inequality with reduced fractions or interval notation. I would have accepted either one. You just need to solve for x. So I'm going to move my 13x over to the other side by subtracting it. And I'm going to move my 6. Actually, I'm going to do one thing at a time. So this gives me negative 10, 11. So 31x plus 6 less than or equal to 10. Now I'm going to, solving for x, I'm going to move the 6 to the other side by subtracting 6 from both sides. Negative 31x is less than or equal to 4. And then divide both sides by negative 31. When you divide by a negative to both sides, you have to flip your inequality. So x is greater than or equal to negative 4 over 31. Now I accepted this interval notation, I'm sorry, I accepted this inequality, or if you did the interval notation, it was included, the negative 4 over 31, and x is greater than, so it's taking off towards the right. So it should have been bracket negative 4 over 31, comma, infinity, parenthesis. I would have accepted either one of those answers. The next one, solve, answer in interval notation. So many of you tried to break this up. Please don't do that. It makes it wrong. Just inevitably people mess it up and it doesn't go well. So give me a chance to do this real quick. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I want x by itself. I need to get rid of the 1 first. So I need to subtract 1 from all 3 sides. And I say sides because of the less than or equal to and the less than. So that we've got 3 sides we're dealing with here. Negative and a negative, we add them and keep the sign. I'm left with less than or equal to negative 4x. Less than 13 minus 1 is 12. The next piece is getting rid of the value, the coefficient of x. So I'm going to have to divide all 3 sides by negative 4 to solve for x. So this gives me x. But when I divide it by a negative, I have to flip my inequalities. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. Now notice, right now the way this is showing, it does show that negative 3 is less than x, but it's harder to see it unless you rewrite it. And I always like to write this to make me not so crazy. Use a number line, negative 3 and 1. Even if you did it this way, you can see that x is greater than negative 3. So it's this direction. And x is less than or equal to 1. Dot less than. So it's all the numbers in between. And I knew that because x is in between them. So to write in an interval notation, it would be parenthesis, negative 3, comma 1, bracket. There's your answer. Solve, answer in interval notation. So absolute value of 2x minus 6 is less than 2. When you have a less than 2, you set them up the exact same way. You take the 2, put it in front, make it negative, and then 2x minus 6 less than 2x minus 6 is less than 2. So notice this is exactly what's written here without the absolute values. The only thing I do different is I have to rewrite the less than over here and change the sign to negative 2. Now we solve for x. I'm going to add 6 to all 3 sides. Trying to isolate x. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. 2 plus 6 is 8. And then dividing all sides by 2. So 2 is less than x is less than 4. Notice I did not divide by negative. I'm not flipping my inequalities. Lastly, for my number line, I've got 2 and 4, and I know they're neither one included, and x is everything in between them. So my answer is 2, 4 with both having parentheses because they're not included. The bonus. Order of operations, y'all. Let me explain it to you. I've done this before, but I'm happy to do it again. So parentheses first, then exponents, which we didn't have. Multiplication and division, whoever comes first from left to right. Then addition and subtraction, whoever comes first from left to right. Use this one if it makes more sense to you. It makes more sense to me, which is why I created it. So 8 divided by 2. I'm going to follow exactly what I'm saying here. Parentheses. 2 plus 2 is 4. So all I'm doing, do not distribute unless there's an X in here. If you can math it, just do it. Don't, because distributing is multiplication, and that means you're not doing parentheses first. You can't do that unless there's a variable in here. Please don't do that. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Now we have division and multiplication. I don't care that M's written first. I care who comes first from left to right. And division happens before multiplication. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Bring down my 4. And then 4 times 4 is 16. If you'd like to discuss anything, I'm happy to do so. Let me know what questions you have. If you need further assistance, again, let me know. Get a tutor. Come see me during office hours. Let me help you.